How's your day going?
Yeah, not too bad. Every day's much the same at the moment.
It really is.
Yeah.
Every time I ask my mom what's new, she's like, same shit, different day.
Yeah.
That's facts, mama. Welcome to 44 and 1. I'm GVizzle. This is Tempest. Would you rather live until you are 200, but look like you were 200 the entire time, even though you are healthy? Or look like you're 25 all the way until you die at the age of 65?
Oh, that's a really tough one. Because I don't really care about the way I look in that sense. And if I'm going to be healthy until I'm 200, and I kind of want to see what will happen in 100 years.
Right?
Yeah. I think
like
it's worth
I think I may have answered this question differently if I was 20, because I would have been like, 65, that's a lifetime away. But I'm 47. Like, that's far.
Exactly. I wouldn't mind, having another 150 years onto my life. Fuck yeah.
I mean, it would be a little sad because everyone you currently know would be dead. But I mean, so you'd have to it'd be dead. They'd be dead. But you would get to see, living to 200 would be very expensive.
Or it could be, but will you have the same you'd have the same retirement age, so you'd still get your pension for like 140 years.
Do you honestly think that a government is going to pay a pension for 140 years?
Private pension. And it's only you.
But if it's a private pension, then that means it's prorated because that money has to last. So eventually it's going to run out.
No, but they don't know you're going to live to 200.
Yeah, but then eventually the money still runs out and they'll be like, retirement funds are depleting.
I've never heard of like that before.
If it's like my own savings, right? Like we have what are called RRSPs, which are registered retirement savings plans. So whatever I contribute to the RSP out of my money, then is what I draw on. But when that money is gone, it's gone. The government offers old age security and a pension, like Canada Pension Plan. But I think after probably about 30 years, they might start to catch on that like, you've been paying this bitch a little too long. I don't know that I would get that for 140 years.
But if you're healthy, though, you can still work. But
I would look 200. Yeah, but they wouldn't know. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. You work from home.
That's true. It doesn't matter. I just put on a filter. That's true. Could you imagine when someone's like, we have a service anniversary, GVizzle's worked here for 120 years, everybody.
Did you imagine?
Blow out the candle.
And you just doddering with your Zimmer frame.
Well, no, you'd still be healthy.
Oh, yeah, you run in.
Yeah.
You're like a
like run in, swipe a piece of cake, and run back out. You'd have to change job. I mean, I guess, would it be known? Because then...
Yeah, you'd be the oldest person in the world. You'd have celebrity status.
Yeah, but you would probably get swept up by someone in the government and dissected to figure out what is the I mean, maybe I've watched too many movies. I'm not saying that's not the case. Well, but you would probably be dissected so that they could find
But you live in Canada, though, so it's not like you live in the UK, where that would probably happen.
It would. I mean, shady shit happens in Canada, too. It would probably happen.
Yeah.
And like when I've been on TikTok for 118 years, they were like, something's up.
Yeah, China.
We need to investigate this.
Yeah. You probably get arrested for like identity theft or something. They won't believe it's real.
Probably. But because it doesn't say that other people do it. So like you may be the only one. In which case, I would probably think it would be like being a vampire. Like if you're a vampire, you couldn't really stay in the same place forever because people would catch on. So like you'd have to pack up and move maybe every 10 years. Although it wouldn't matter because you always look the same age.
No, you don't look this.
You look 200.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that like we're introverts, right? We work from home. The only reason why people know our faces and like have an idea of who we are is because we do stuff online. If we didn't do that, nobody would fucking know. We'd just be that crazy old person in the village.
Yeah. I mean, the one everyone has rumors about that she's a witch. But yeah. I think it would be wasteful to live to 200 and maintain the introversion. Like you would have, I would be. you know, you pick like 50 places to live or whatever. You spend 4 years in each place or what? I mean, you need to have the money to do that, but you'd have the opportunity to travel and do whatever.
Well, working from home, I can live wherever I want to live.
That's true.
So,
but what if my company isn't around in 140 years? We got to find another job and go to a weird, what if they don't let me work from home?
But hey, if you're around for that long, you'll have time to develop ties to the criminal underworld so you can get some fake identification.
I wouldn't need fake identification.
Yeah, you would if you want to hide yourself from the government. Or like you don't want to, like, do you really want to hand in a CV or something, and then you'll have like your date of birth or something, and then it's,
they can't ask for date of birth on the CV, but I would have to eventually you'd have to make it shorter, otherwise your CV would be like this thick. Yeah. You're like, oh, so what were you doing in 1918? I'm like, oh, I had a terrible flu back then. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, 200 would be good. Be curious to see what happens over the next 153 years.
I think 6 months ago I was probably a bit more optimistically interested, but since then it's turned into such a shit show. I'm kind of like, yeah, I would like to see if we're still here in 100 years.
I'm very curious about what it would be like. What if you had the option? What if we could marry the two so that you would always look 25? You lived for 200 years. However, you were in stasis for a lot of it. So you'd be in stasis for a decade, and then you come out of it for 2 years. So you can see what's going on, the lay of the land, and then you're back in stasis. So you'd have a 200-year run, but you wouldn't be awake for all of it. I mean, we'd have to play with the numbers a little bit. Maybe it's stasis for 5 years and then one. So like every 5 years you wake up,
I've always wanted to do that and just see what's going on. Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. I'd love to be cryostasis or something for a while.
I mean, it didn't work out very well for Simon Phoenix, Demolition Man.
Oh, yeah. Who? Fucking idiot.
I'm going to start dropping Demolition Man references everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Would you rather be unable to move your body every time it rains, or not be able to stop moving while the sun is out?
Well, that was easy because I live in the north of England. So it's the latter. Because it's hardly ever sunny and it's always fucking raining.
Yeah, I was thinking the opposite. I mean, like, I work during daylight hours. So how would I work if I was... I mean, I wonder if typing would count as moving.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd be frozen in place. You just be like,
No, I'm picking this. I would think of the sun one. If I could not stop moving while the sun is out, does that count? Yeah,
you'd be. I mean, the thing is like you'd be so productive. You'd just be like, yeah, fuck yeah, and then I would sit back, and you could be like, and then you could, I don't know, if you have to actually move, you could just sit on like an exercise bike and type. You could do that easily. Easy enough to set up.
I mean, I have a desk that rises, so I could just kind of like march in place if I had to. That would be exhausting, though. Especially on like, I'd want to move somewhere that like doesn't do, like when we were in St. Kitts on our honeymoon, even though like here it still would have been dark at 9 o'clock at night, there the sun went down at 7. Like I know there's a term for that, where you are versus the equator. I don't know what it's called. I'm an idiot. But I would want to like move somewhere there so I could like get a break.
Yeah.
Because admittedly, when it's raining, I don't move a lot anyway because the dogs are afraid of thunder. So we don't really do much. Although when I bought, because I used to walk Zool, and like she is not as bothered by thunder when it's raining. So I bought like rain boots that I could walk in. I bought rain pants to keep me from getting wet. I had a rain jacket and like a rain hat. So I was like head to toe rain, but I would still get home just as wet because that shit doesn't breathe. So I would be sweating like a whore.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah. That's the worst feeling.
Oh, and I was like, did I pee myself? No, it's just
probably
sweat.
did.
Trying to avoid getting rained on.
It could be both.
Sweating myself out. I would know if I peed myself. Trust me.
I remember. The thing is, right, like I definitely, yeah, I'm with the sun one. I'd rather not be able to stop moving with the sun, because could you imagine, like, you know, cats or dogs, and then if you're frozen in place because it's raining, and then goes and just sits and then farts in your face?
Yeah. And then like, how would I feed them? How would I let them out? And how would I like, even, yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm with you.
What?
Would you rather be compelled to high five everyone you meet, or be compelled to give wedgies to anyone in a green shirt?
Define meat.
It did say meet, so not just like walk by. So I would say if there is an introduction, because that's how I would say, I would think that would be a meet. That's how I am defining meet.
I'm gonna go for
introduction.
I'm gonna go for high five, because that's less likely I'm gonna get the shit kicked out of me, and B, it just seems really fun just to go, hey.
Yeah, like, then you'd be like that weird high five guy. Like,
yeah.
It's that guy, yeah.
And the caveat would be that you can't tell anyone that you're cursed.
Yeah, no, I would. Yeah, you couldn't. So what if it was like everyone you made eye contact with?
Oh, but can they leave me hanging? Is that okay?
Yeah, this is your rule, not theirs. It's not like you can follow them home. Like, do it.
Can you imagine? I need to go home. Please high five me.
My arm's so tired.
You're like the Queen when she waves like that. Oh, hello. Yeah, so I think, yeah, high five everyone I meet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get that close to people to give them a wedgie.
I don't
know how. I'm going to, now I think for the next couple of days, I'm going to start paying attention to how many green shirts I see.
Yeah.
Because it could be, I mean, it could be none. It could be a lot.
You could never go out on St. Patrick's Day ever again.
No, that's true. What if I was wearing a green shirt? I just have to like walk around in circles with my underwear on my hand.
Yeah.
Like a dog chasing their tail. Oh, let me show you about these. Can you see that?
Outrageous frosted cookie.
Yeah, these are dog treats.
Oh, I've seen you eat these on TikTok.
Yeah, these are new ones. They're fucking delicious. The dogs aren't getting any of them. Look at it.
Oh, that looks so good.
It is. Oh my god. And I know someone's gonna say that like the factories they make animal food in is probably not as hygienic as the factories. I get it. That's fine. It's still a delicious fucking cookie, and it doesn't have like any weird ingredients, and it's only 16 calories. This, wow. If I were to get this cookie in human cookie, they would manage to like pack 70 or 75 calories in there and a bunch of sugar.
Yeah. And I think people are too precious about hygiene with those things, because you know, it's probably got loads of shit all over them anyway. You know, I mean, I share my ice cream. I share my ice cream with my cats, so you know.
And I mean, we've had a ton of like food recalls because everything's covered in listeria and E. coli and salmonella.
Exactly.
I don't hear them saying that they're recalling any dog's food for that.
They had to recall, I think it was some sausages or burgers or something, because they had horse meat in them.
Yeah, but you know what? I actually have an issue with that, I think. Because there are some countries that they eat horse meat. And it's like a natural meat. It's high in protein, low in fat. It's a pretty healthy meat. It was already in there anyway, so why not take that and take it to a country in which eating horse meat is acceptable, and then let people who were there and hungry eat them. It's like there's a comedian, Doug Stanhope. He said, "Oh no, there isn't like a food shortage problem. It's a distribution problem. Yeah, because 100%. There's a ton of food, like all that food that just went to waste. You could have given it to somebody else. Yeah. Because technically, look how cute these are. Was that like a little waffle and a piece of bread? It's toast and waffles. And it tastes like maple. It doesn't taste like maple. These are terrible. These are for the dogs. The dogs can eat these. They're very dry. But technically, we've solved world hunger. We just can't get it to all the hungry people. There are so many profound cultural differences in the world that, and people, I mean, I don't know what people are like in other countries in the world, but certainly in the West,
we could be very judgmental about those cultural differences.
Yes. I think because what you do, and that's what breeds, I think, a lot of like racism is just a lack of knowledge or understanding or empathy, that it's not always the same everywhere. Like in India, cows are sacred and they don't eat cows. In Mexico, you can get tacos on the street that are made with crickets, and that seems really foreign to us, but to them it's just natural, it's part of their culture, and that's amazing, right? Like explore it if you want to explore it, but don't shit talk it because it's not your culture.
Yeah, it's like you kind of eat the things that are there to be eaten, because you like one of the things I struggle with, I think, is the militancy with which people try to press veganism on people, or they're trying to make us meat free, but we're omnivores. We need meat, we need plants, like we need to eat all of it. Like there's fucking people trying to make their cats vegetarian, and it's like
they're obligate carnivores.
Yeah, obligate. They have to. Yeah,
you can do it with the dog, but I've heard that you can do it with a cat if you properly supplement their diet. But
no.
I thought I heard
that. No. People try to say that, but it's not true. Like it's just not going to work. Your cat's going to get like horrible problems in old age.
I don't know. It's just, I think everyone just needs to kind of mind their P's and Q's, right? Like stop trying to police what other people do. If you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. Actually, I don't begrudge that at all. I worked with a woman who was vegan, and she would tell everybody she was a vegan every chance she got. And then we were out for lunch one day. I don't know if I've told the story before. We were out for lunch one day, and we went to a restaurant, and she asked the server about the veggie burger. And she said, like, I'm going to start chewing that fly too. It's massive. So she asked the server, the veggie burger, does it look like a meat patty, but it's veggie, or does it, like, can you see the vegetables in it? And so, and so the server said, no, it just looks like a regular patty, but it's a fully vegetarian patty. And then she's like, oh no, I'll just order. She ordered something else. And then she looks at me and she says, I can't eat it if it looks like meat because it just reminds me of the animals. It gets one better. She was wearing a leather skirt at the time. So I was like, what about that skirt? She, well, that's different.
It was already dead when they made it.
And like, I have worked with a couple of vegans who, like one of them that I worked with recently, she would eat eggs if she knew, like if she got them from the farm and she knew the farmer and she knew that they were an ethical farmer, because the chicken's going to lay an egg regardless every day unless it was not fertilized. So she would do that. She would wear leather if it was from like a thrift shop, because then it's just being like, in her mind, it's being rehomed. It's not a new product that was made for her or whatever. So she would do that. So she was kind of a bit more practical,
more sensible.
Yeah, in her way of going about things. But it's just, like it's just everyone wants to, if they're vegan, they want to push veganism on you. If they do keto, they want to push keto on you. If they're intermittent fasting, they want to push that on you. Like everyone wants it. And all I want to do is eat my little dog treats and peace, and people are breaking my balls about it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. It's when like it's when activism becomes your identity, and like you start fighting for causes without thinking about them. It's just like, oh, there's something in trouble that I've completely fabricated. I have to go fight it. It's not like they work for fucking Amnesty International or something, is it? Like, like
that's true. Like, I don't know what it is. I mean, there are things that, as you learn about them, you think like, yes, that's a worthwhile cause. I will support that cause. But like, do your due diligence and
I think
figure it out. And that's your cause. Like, I'm not going to tell somebody else how they should spend their money or their time or
exactly
their passion.
Yeah. And it's I forgot what it was. Fucking brain.
No, stop blaming your brain. It's because I interrupt you all the time.
no, because I used to be able to remember what I was going to say. And then, I mean, because, I'm used to, like, I've interviewed hundreds of people and stuff. And I always remember the whole conversation. I can make notes on it afterwards. you know, and then now I'm like, I could barely remember my own fucking words when someone interrupts me.
I know for me, I'm kind of the same, but for me, it's more of a use it or lose it.
Yeah.
Like as soon as my like Siri became a thing, and I could just be like, "Hey Siri, remind me to do this in an hour." I have lost the capacity to remember anything.
No, mine was drug use.
Mine is just atrophy of my brain. Is like.
Yeah. Oh, it does come back though. Like if you train it and you stop using Siri for your life, then you'll get it back.
Why bother?
There's cookies to be eaten.
Exactly. It was delicious.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
And I just think, yeah. So with this activism stuff, like it's the tactics they use with it, and the way that it's the militancy behind it that really bothers me, because they most of the time they become what they hate and they become what they're fighting against. Like they're either reenacting trauma on other people, or they're just being a human being, and that's how human beings do stuff, you know. And
I find a lot of things get painted with a certain brush, where everything is that thing. Do you know what I mean? Like we were talking earlier about, I made a video when I was defining misophonia, and it's a very specific condition that has very specific parameters, and it would be diagnosed. But then everyone, like a lot of people in the comments were like, "Oh, I have that because I don't like it when I hear someone chew." It's like, no one likes to hear people chew.
Yeah, it's gross.
And I see it a lot on Reddit. Like people on Reddit will make these like either "Am I the asshole" posts or relationship posts, and they'll say like one shitty thing that someone in their life did, and then all the comments are like, "That person's a narcissist. They're gaslighting you. They're abusing you." And it's like, what? He just forgot to buy my ice cream. Like that was
that's just one thing.
Like I think people just catch on to catchphrases and certain things, and like, or you hear a definition of something and then you apply that to everything that even marginally fits.
Like one of my big bugbears is where people say, "Oh, I've got OCD," and I was like, no, you don't have OCD. Do you know what OCD is like for people with it? Like there was this guy who every time he left the house, he'd be worried about electricity and fires. So he'd have to go back in his house, turn all the switches off in the house, like all of them. So his fridge, his freezer, his washing machine, everything. And then his wife would have to sneak back in the house without him knowing to turn the fridge and freezer back on. And if he knew that she did it, he'd have to go back in and turn it off. Wow. Yeah, that is fucking OCD.
Yeah, like I've know, or like, you know, you see people online where it's like, well, I like my desk to be orderly. I'm OCD about it. It's like, you just like to have an orderly desk. Like, just because you don't live in squalor and like you don't have clothes littering your floor and you know where your things are, it doesn't mean you have OCD. It just means you're a tidy person.
OCD, right? Okay, if you liked a tidy desk and you had OCD, right? Like if you fulfilled the criteria for obsessive compulsive disorder, rather than just being an obsessive compulsive person, you would probably have like bleach and detergent and wipes, and you'd be constantly wiping it down. If anything was out of place, you'd have to rearrange everything on the desk. You probably have to clean in between each of the keys on your keyboard before you used it and after you used it. You're probably washing your hands every 20 minutes to make sure everything stays clean, wiping your screen down all the time. And like if a piece of dust lands on your screen, you're going to be spraying it, wiping it down and rearranging your desk again. That's fucking OCD.
Also, another one I think everyone has self-diagnosed themselves with is ADHD.
Yes, because they get a bit distracted.
Yeah, I saw this guy. It was on Reddit. It's been Reddit and TikTok. That's my pastimes. He created this computer program, robot, whatever, that he has sitting on either side of his monitor, and it watches him. And when he starts to get distracted from his work, it focuses him back on work. So like he demonstrates it where it's just like, it looks like two little speakers are sitting beside his computer and he's working and he's showing the view from the robot of him working. And then he picks up his phone and starts to get distracted, and these bright lights come on.
Oh, wow.
And like shoot into his face so that he can't see his screen. And then like when he puts it away, the lights go off and he gets back to work.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, I need that.
That's the thing, like ADHD, mate. My sister's ex-boyfriend, his son had ADHD. And I remember just like, I was just trying to tire him out one day because they'd had enough of him. And he was like 12 years old. And he fucking nearly killed me with just like his energy. We were playing Nerf guns, building forts, and like he was changing tasks like every 5 minutes. He'd do something else. And then he was just like, fucking hell, it was like Gozer or something.
So does it ever end? Like, is there a point where he just gets like physically exhausted and burnt out and stops? Or do you have to like slow him down? Like, okay.
Well, it's just kind of like you just have to disengage and like not amp them up, because it's like if you match their level, then I mean this is mainly about little kids rather than adults. So if you match their level, then you're gonna they're just gonna go up and up and up. Yeah, so I tried that and failed miserably because they'll just wear you out. So you just kind of have to disengage.
And I have like, again, with another caveat, I have no doubt that I mean, I do see, and I follow a lot of people on TikTok who say they have ADHD, and I have no doubt that they have been diagnosed and confirmed, and they've done the due diligence that, I mean, we're not saying, once again, disclaimer, we're not saying that if you have OCD or ADHD that you are not just.
Yeah, there are a lot of people out there who, like, I did some videos about this recently about autism, because people say like, oh, everyone's a little bit autistic. And I explained like, no, that's not true. This is why. And then you still got fucking people coming to you going, no, it's a spectrum. We're all a bit autistic. No, I've just explained why.
Just because it's a spectrum doesn't mean you're on it.
No, exactly. And then they completely misunderstand spectrum. Like it's a spectrum because it goes all the way from like mild, without a learning disability, quite mild autism, but it still causes some problems like me. And then you've got and I'm verbal, I can communicate. And you got on the other end, you got like severe learning disability of an IQ of like 45, they're non-verbal, they communicate in a completely alien way to everybody else. And yeah, and it's like everybody thinks that that's what autism is, when it's not. Autism is between me and that person and everything in between. That's what the spectrum means.
It's the it's the invisible disabilities, right? Like if I guess people have in their head what it should look like. So like one of my neighbors has MS, and you know it's clear like she has tools to help her walk, and she's got, you know, different implements that assist her, and you can tell when you see her that she has mobility issues. So when she tells people she has MS, she never gets any pushback on it. But then like someone who is not at that level yet, who still fully functions, is like, well, you don't look sick. It's like, well, yeah. What's that supposed to look like, actually? Like,
yeah.
I saw a tweet. This guy had tweeted that he doesn't understand why like disabled parking spaces exist, because like they should, you know, they should only be during business hours, because then other people can park there. And then like the woman who retweeted it was like, we're disabled. We're not.
Yeah.
Like we don't.
It doesn't happen. At night. Yeah, you can't just switch off your disability.
But not only that, like we still need the parking spaces at night, because like we have social lives and friends.
Exactly.
Life, but like, yeah, everyone has in their head what that's supposed to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I've encountered quite a lot of it with my back problems over the years, like because I'm just a young person, people just don't think it could possibly be as bad as it is, and obviously it's nowhere near as bad as it was, but people just don't believe you, and they can't sympathize or empathize with you because you're presented as a young, like happy sounding person, and you know. But
it's the same thing with like depression and anxiety, right? Like unless you are, you know, what they see in movies of like, you know, the agoraphobe who is completely unable to manage their life. It's like, well, just go for a walk. Have you tried not being depressed, right?
Yeah. Oh, here's another bit of news actually. I wasn't going to do it because it was quite depressing, but you know this. It's part of the conversation, but it's exactly related to what you just said. So, you know, with these flights that are sending immigrants over to Rwanda, I think I mentioned that a while ago, and it's completely awful. Anyway, so the people that are going to be sent out there, there's quite a number of them are really depressed, and like to the point of considering suicide level of depressed. The advice being given to them is to do things like go for walks, play Sudoku, get a hobby. Yeah, it's like you're deporting them to a fucking country they've never seen before, like 2,000 miles away. And you tell them to play fucking Sudoku.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get some fresh air.
Yeah, it's fine.
Drink some coconut water. That helps everything.
Yeah. And it just sums up this government, the like just the lack of sympathy for anybody.
But I don't know what's that. I think a lot of governments just don't do a good enough job of mental health awareness. Like they try in Canada, like we have, Bell Health Day, which is like Bell's, you probably know Bell, like it's one of the big like telecommunications companies. They do a mental health day, and like they try to do things, but it's like, it kind of reminds me of like medicine commercials from the US, where it's like you see this, this older couple riding a bike in the summertime, and then it's like, you should talk to your doctor about this medicine. It's like, what the fuck does it do?
Yeah.
What condition does it have? Why are you telling me this? Why should I do that? Do I have to do that? And like mental health is kind of the same. It's like, here's where you go for support, but it's not like, here's the kind of things that you may need support in. Because someone may think that they're not depressed or they're not anxious, but if they were to hear like, are you feeling this way? Has it been, 4 or 5 days since you've had the energy to take a shower? Have you not been able to, like all those little things that some people are like, oh, I just work from home, so it's no big deal. Like those could be symptoms of depression that you should know how to recognize.
And I think that's part of the problem with why we see on TikTok a lot of the people that, for whatever reason, okay, so we've got the people who are genuinely self-diagnosing because they really have a problem. That's part of the journey of finding out you have mental health problems. I'm not talking about them. Talking about the people who are using it for attention, or they think they've got it and they don't, that sort of stuff. And I think part of the problem for that is exactly what you just said, is that kids go through school not knowing what any of this is. I mean, you have sex education, you have LGBT Pride Month and all that sort of thing. And you have like the odd awareness day about autism or mental health, but there's nothing being taught at school to help children really understand what genuine, profound mental illness is.
Yeah. And like, so I've known a lot of people in my life who deal with depression and anxiety, and they've tried their best to explain it to me, because fortunately I don't. So they tried their way to explain it to me in a way that, makes sense and that can help me empathize and help me be a better support person for them. And it wasn't until I read the book, The Valedictorian of Being Dead. And I listened to the audiobook, the author narrates it, and she does a phenomenal job. Like I was crying with her, like you could feel the emotion in her voice. So her story is that she talks about her depression and what it was like for her. And the way she describes it, it finally made it click for me. I wish I could remember how she describes it, but it finally made it click for me of like, that's the depths of it, right? Like hopefully for her, that was the bottom, and for other people, it's not that severe, but she underwent this experimental treatment where they put her pretty much in a coma. Like they killed her 10 times in an attempt to rewire her brain so that when she would come out of it, the synapses would be firing in a different way. And for her, it worked. Like it was fantastic that it worked. But the way she describes the feeling of it was a way that it's never been articulated to me, and I was finally able to understand it. And things like that are things, not that they need to be teaching fourth graders about that level of despair, but start having those conversations early, because I mean, now we're even having like kids in elementary school, grade 3, 4, 5, that are exhibiting signs of depression and anxiety, and we don't know how to recognize that. And I think that's where, like we talked about ADHD earlier, when it was just so broadly, like when it was first like sexy, any kid who acted up was like, they've got ADHD, we should put them on meds. And like, it was just like so liberally applied that it lost any sort of meaning.
It is one of those times actually where it was detrimental specifically to young boys because of young boy energy, of just being hyperactive and boisterous. Particularly, this has mainly happened in the States. They basically over-medicated all these young boys just because they were young boys, and just completely destroyed their fucking childhoods.
And isn't the opposite true for young girls and autism? Because young girls are taught more how to mask and fit in, so it's not recognized as quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Because like women compared to men, speaking very generally, are much more socially adept, and so girls are very good at hiding it. Yeah, and they're completely underdiagnosed. And it's tragic because it means that because autism carries with it a lot of naivety. And that means then when you go out into the world, you go to university or you go into jobs for the first time, it's very easy to dupe you, particularly if you lack life experience. And so there's a lot of young women with autism who didn't know they had it and they get taken advantage of and stuff, either by friendship groups or men that they're dating and things like that. And it's fucking awful.
Are you looking for fun new glasses that won't break the bank? Zlul.com. They have daily flash sales. Find frames as low as $2. Prescription, non-prescription, sunglasses, they have it all. Promo code to save.
Enjoy the rest of your day or
Yeah.
evening.
You too. Thanks for the recording.